What a day. Welcome to the Waiver Wire Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by Chalkboard, where you simply choose more or less than your favorite players. That's went up to 5,000 times your money. I'm Jim Coventry. Today, give you the top reactions to the week 3 action. Usually we're going to do get into those 5 right away, but I want to do a little bit of an introduction today because there were some wild finishes here today. And that's why I talk about those first, because if you love football, which you do because you're here, so you definitely just want to relive a little bit of this craziness. I mean, start with the Cleveland Browns. Talk about a game that was all but over, right? They were down 10-0 in the fourth quarter, no signs of life whatsoever. And then all of a sudden it gets nuts. I saw a Jordan Love interception. There was so much going on. I'm not going to remember all the details now until I sit back down later and go back over this, but it was crazy. They get a field goal. Then they end up getting a touchdown. I think they blocked a kick in there as well. And then, oh my goodness, the Cleveland Browns scored 13 points in their last 3 drives, break a shutout, and end up winning the game. Nobody saw that one coming. But, again, Quinshon Judkins is very excited for the young man. Look, whatever happened with him, I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't really speak to that. So I just will say this. I was very excited to see him be the lead back, and he did not disappoint. Found the end zone, got over 90 yards. It was just very, very fun to see that. Obviously, the Packers, nothing to worry about. It's an interconference game, so that doesn't hurt them so much. Other crazy finishes. Let's see. The 49ers looked like that game was over, too. That was kind of nuts. And then all of a sudden, the 49ers get the ball back, and then all of a sudden, they get this late field goal. Christian McCaffrey, all these goal line touches. He can't get it in the end zone. Bunt down, a bunch of people hurt. Again, last second game there, James Conner gets hurt. Very sad. I love James Conner. Just carted off. They said it was an ankle. We'll see who that is. Other wild finishes. See what we got. Oh, that Rams-Eagles game. We'll talk about that game later, so I'm not going to go over that. But the Jets-Buccaneers, the Jets score 21 fourth quarter points. The Jets are done in this game. They come back. They block the field goal by the Buccaneers, which was meant to win the game, and they run it back all the way for a touchdown. Completely insane. You can't make this stuff up. And then the Buccaneers get the ball back, come back down, and they kick a field goal and win this thing. But these were the things. In the Jacksonville Texan game, the craziness on that. Oh my goodness. Just that they neither want to win the game. Just turned the ball over. Nico Collins had a long touchdown because they bit on a short route with nobody behind him, no safety help. Wide open 50-yard touchdown, crazy. Jaguars just giving the ball away right and left. Finally, the Jaguars do win this thing. But again, crazy finishes today. But we're going to get into our 5 big reactions of the day, and I'll get to some of these chat questions as they come through as well. But yes, instant reaction number 1, we are definitely starting out. The Eagles stun the Rams with a late comeback. The first thing I'll say, the final score 33-26, Eagles 23. And if you didn't see it, which I hope you did, basically the Rams are losing this game 27-26. They drive into field goal range. Joshua Carty's kicking. Now, Carty already had a field goal blocked in that game. So the field goal wins it. Not only do they not get the field goal, but the Eagles block it. And oh my gosh, run back for a touchdown. Jordan Davis, 300 plus pounds, runs it back all the way for a touchdown. So now here's the thing, right? Talking to my Waiver Wire teammate, Alan Soslowski, he was all excited. He took the Rams money line on this one, which sounded like a good bet. And I'm like, well, I didn't have the fortitude to do that, but I took the 3.5 points. Look at that. Nope. That's what gambling is. Gambling. Yeah, I'm not upset about it. It's gambling, right? That's why you gamble. You never know what's going to happen. But that's the thing. You can call it all way down and you get these wild finishes like that. But now, what about the game? So first of all, the Rams are continuing to have some issues they had last year. But I'll talk about how I think it could change. So the first thing is Joshua Carty attempts 6 field goals in this game. That's a problem. The Rams need to find ways to score a touchdown. They have Puka Nacua, who's great against zone. They have Devontae Adams, who's great against man. When you watch the game, you still could see Stafford is not quite in sync with Devontae Adams. And I think there's a little disconnect there. You saw Stafford sailing some passes high. 19 to 33 for Stafford, 196. Now, but part of the problem is they had this massive lead, and we talk about it all the time. It's like the subliminal switch, right? They are up in this game early in the second quarter, so it was 19 to 7 at halftime, but they go up 26 to 7 and never score another point. But the problem is, you get that big lead. And then all of a sudden now the Eagles are in scramble mode and the Rams are getting kicks blocked at them. And it just ends up being a nightmare situation for a team that dominated the game. The Rams had Kyron Williams going well in this game. He played well. Nakua played well. Adams scored the touchdown. But again, it was just missing important throws that could have put this game well out of reach. All that said, 2 blocked field goals. You don't see that happen real frequently, especially if you're getting one blocked. You would almost think like, all right, they would figure out something, their special teams coach. All right, we know what they did. We got their idea. We'll figure some way to, work with this. Didn't really seem to happen. Again, I'm not a special teams expert, so I can't really tell you what the ins and outs on that are. But to think you get a block twice, that's pretty rare. Now, the Eagles side. So in the first half, this was the same Eagles offense that I've been unfortunately complaining about the first couple of weeks, because here it was. The Eagles are seeing 33% stacked boxes, 8-man boxes, 33% 8-man boxes. And I said last year, you can never do that to the Eagles because once you put 8-man in the box, they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You just go over the top and you have no chance. You'll get shredded. And teams kind of respected that and realized that. But this year, teams are playing a lot of zone on the back end, and I don't know how they got the idea that Jalen Hurts wasn't going to test them deep downfield. And offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo looks like overmatched, like he's not like making these simple decisions. Well, their decision was forced on them. They had no choice. When you are down 26 to 7, you have no choice. So you have to throw the football downfield. And that's exactly what happened. And guess what? The Eagles offense worked. All of a sudden, A.J. Brown shut out at halftime. Nothing. Zippo. 6 for 109 and a touchdown on 10 targets. Devontae Smith, don't remember he had the half, but it wasn't much. 8 for 60 and a touchdown. Goddard scores a touchdown. I don't know if that was the first half or the second half. I can't remember which one when he scored that one. It was the second half because Jalen Hurts, I think, had the tush push touchdown in the first half. So that would be that. But now all of a sudden, the Eagles fix it. And if they run this style of offense all year, they're fine because, like I said, you stack the box fine. Barkley gets slowed down, and Barkley was shut down. 18 for 46. 4 for 9 through the air. For fantasy, he got you about 10 points. Ouch. But again, now teams will go in if they think that Kevin Patullo will start to throw about downfield. You can't do that. You cannot do that because Brown and Smith will just gut you. Now, there's some defense that might have 2 great corners, not many of them. They might play it differently, but we'll see. I'm skeptical that Patullo will come out next week and do that because the Eagles are 3-0. They have no sign of desperation. So don't be surprised next week if they come back out and they go with the same old garbage. And they let 8-man boxes and they keep running like they're heading to a brick wall. Don't be surprised. Now, hopefully, Coach Sirianni says, you know what, this worked. We got to keep going. If they make that decision, the Eagles are fine. But I can't tell you they're going to do that. And that's the biggest problem of them all. But otherwise, Jalen Hurts for fantasy, 3 touchdown passes, 226 runs for 40 and a touchdown. Great there. But basically, if you played your Eagles, other than Barkley, you ended up being fine. But you were really disappointed because you remember the whole point with, last year was a couple of massive games against the Rams. And then he comes up with this. Quick points here. News on CeeDee Lamb. An ankle was all I knew. He got removed with an ankle. I didn't hear any update on that. I posted my article and then I saw the tweet that Harris has an Achilles because the first report that I took said it was an ankle, which I knew was an Achilles, but the report said ankle, so I can't contradict it. But as soon as I post the report and get here for this video, I see it was an Achilles, so I got to update that. If anybody looks at the article on the Roto Wire site, Angelo points out, yep, Kirk Cousins should have gone in the third quarter, but he didn't. And we'll see what that brings next week. And is it time to panic on Ladd? You know what? Floor game, 8 PPR points. You can live with that. But it's a 3-man race at receiver there. And they're all going to get targets, right? Yeah, they're all. Scott thinks it's a high ankle sprain. You will see how that. But yeah, the fact he didn't come in, right? It wasn't a basketball roll. So there's a chance that's a real problem for Dallas for sure. And then Mike Evans hamstring. Yeah. So definitely a lot of frustration in the fantasy community, rightfully so, right? And Chad pointing out, yeah, that Browns defense is legit. And I bought into the Browns 2 years ago heavy. I was before that season. I was like, man, this defense is gonna be special, and they were. But it's like there's so many guys gone from that unit. I was thinking they got Ward, and he doesn't play as great as he did a few years back. They got Myles Garrett, and I'm thinking, look at all the other. They're playing great. They are phenomenal. And that game, when they got pasted by the Ravens last week, that was some short field stuff. There was a turnover, there was a block kick, but the defense did their job. They definitely did. But anyway, that was the Eagles stun the Rams with the late comeback. We'll go back and forth with some other things. It's going to be really hard to stay on topic on such a great day like this. All right, the NFL season's here, and the best place to play DFS Pick'em is RT Sports. Download the brand new RT Sports Pick'em app now. Receive your 100% deposit match bonus up to $100 in bonus funds with the promo code WIRE100. RT Sports offers unique ways to earn bonus funds, such as every time you share your entries to MyNext, you get $5 of bonus funds on RT Sports, or if you sync your bank account, you get bonus funds. Also, RT Sports offers weekly free square options on the app where players slashed to 0.5 total yards. Download the RT Sports Pick'em app today and use the promo code WIRE100 to get a 100% deposit match up to $100 in bonus codes. Instant reaction number 2. The Colts drop 41 points in a win. The Colts have been fun. The Colts have been a lot of fun this year. And Jonathan Taylor continuing to crush on the ground. 102 yards, only 17 carries, 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones not needed a lot in this one. Only 25 pass attempts. Still goes for 228 and a touchdown. Jones did have a run in the red zone, didn't get in. So it was not a great fantasy day for Daniel Jones, but about 17 points. But again, as floor games go, it's not bad, but it wasn't his fault. It wasn't like he did anything bad in this game. It was that, they took care of business. Defensive score, and they just took care of business here. So yeah, definitely. But Jones is fine. I don't see any reason to panic right here because this was a game against Tennessee. It was at Tennessee, but it was a weaker opponent, and they had a lead. They were up 17-3 in the first quarter, so they were already in that mode where we don't need to be aggressive. Shane Steichen got that, and he coached appropriately. But they scored 41 points, so you really can't. The fantasy fallout, yeah, you were hoping to get more if you started Daniel Jones, but this was no knock. It was 18 out of 25 passing. And here's the thing. Remember we talked about Daniel Jones and his biggest weakness is throwing downfield? It hasn't been this year. He took some deep shots, 29-yard shot to touchdowns. I can't remember which one was deep, but there was one that may have been the one. But I remember he's throwing the ball downfield. So there's definitely some real positivity there. Look, when you throw 25 passes, somebody's gonna have the down game. Josh Downs 2 for 34, Tyler Warren 3 for 38. It is what it is. Alec Pierce got hurt in this game. 13 games gone. If I remember the injuries, that'd be dangerous. Don't know if it's serious or not. But 4 for 67 for Pierce. But Michael Pittman, he ends up with 673 and a touchdown. Pittman's been fine. And obviously Warren will be fine. So again, you just keep buying in this team. This team is going to be fine. They're going to have some fun offensive days. Offensive line's very good. The Tennessee side, look, they were down their whole starting right offensive line. Right guard Kevin Zeitler out, right tackle J.C. Latham out. That was a problem. And they're playing Indy. They had Leatu Latu back, who missed last week. He's an emerging stud pass rusher. And then they got Charvarius Ward back from the concussion at corner. That made it a little tough on Calvin Ridley. 7 targets, 1 of 27. So, thanks, Scott. So, yeah, Pierce had a concussion. Thank you for that. So hopefully the young man gets better soon. If he misses time, Adonai Mitchell probably steps into that role, making Adonai Mitchell a little bit sneaky for next week for sure, because they do use that downfield role. Every week they've used that downfield role. So that's an important piece of their offense. Tony Pollard got lucky with a late touchdown. I'm glad he scored it because we thought Chimere Dike got in on a run play, but I think his hand touched the pylon. The ball was in his left hand, so I think when his hand hit the pylon, the ball wasn't there. So they gave them the ball inside the 1, and Pollard. So 16-45 for Pollard on the ground. Pollard as a receiver, 2 for 14. But again, that's what you're kind of getting. You got 60 yards out of him, a couple catches, and a touchdown. So it's been a floor season. He'll have good games. But remember, I know Tyjae Spears will probably come back in a few weeks. I think Pollard's going to see a little downtick in work. I don't think they want him working all that much. But Okonkwo 5 for 66. You probably don't have him starting anywhere. But again, tight end streamer, he could be there. Obviously, you're in these leagues where you use 2 tight ends. You might think about that. Io Manor scores a touchdown, 5 targets, 4 for 38. Again, if you're not in a real shallow league, you're in a 12 team with there's quite a few players rostered. And if Io Manor is still out there on your waiver wire, pick him up. He's going to get better as the season goes on, but he's produced. He has produced 2 weeks in a row, but he sees targets every single week. Let's take a quick look back through here. Randy said for 3 weeks, Trevor Lawrence. I'm talking about that game. So yeah, I'll get you on that one. And I can't do the trade thing because let's see, Browns. Well, hey, you know what though? But come on. The Browns players are doing their best, and Myles Garrett deserves a little bit going. So yeah, their organization's not good, but you know what? That's all right. I'm happy for them. We're like Green Bay, they've gotten a win, but I'm happy for them. And all right, it looks like we're kind of caught up here. All right, so let's go next. We are going to say the NFL is back. Don't just sit on the couch, lock in your seat this season with the Vivid Seats app where you'll score the lowest price tickets guarantee. That's right. Vivid Seats is introducing their new lowest price guarantee, so you're getting the best deal all season long. Seriously, try to find a cheaper ticket. Good luck with that. Every rushing yard, red zone pass, jaw-dropping play of your favorite team live and in person. And here's the kicker. When you buy the Vivid Seats app, you rack up rewards and free credits. That's your personal home field advantage. And if that wasn't enough, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code ROTOWIRE. Again, that's code ROTOWIRE, ROTOWIRE. So suit up the NFL season and download the Vivid Seats app. Get the best deal with the best prices. Terms do apply. All right, instant reaction number 3. Yes, the Jaguars beat the Texans in a snoozer. Yes, it was a snoozer. It was a very, very rough game to watch. Again, 9 games on early, so you can't really watch them with the tightest eye. We watched the film Tuesday morning for sure, but I saw enough. Of this game. CJ Stroud. All right, now I gave him a pass in week 1. They played the Rams, that pass rush. I knew that was gonna be a problem. And then last week they played the Buccaneers, and he knew the blitz was gonna come, and that was a problem. They played Jacksonville this week, and I'm like, okay, CJ Stroud should be okay this week. He wasn't okay. He was not okay. 25 of 38, 204, 2 picks, and a touchdown. He knows the pressure is coming. He's trying to do too much. He doesn't have enough weapons. Fortunately, if you rostered Nico Collins, I don't know which corner was on him. Again, I got 9 games on. But the one corner, Nico Collins is alone on an island, and the corner bites down, and Collins just runs past him. There's no safety help. It's like a walk-in 50-yard touchdown. Fortunately, that ends up, making Collins fantasy day. Actually, if you started Stroud, it got you the only touchdown he had, so that worked. But other than that, leading receiver is Dalton Schultz with 39 yards. Christian Kirk, though, he got started again. He got 8 targets, 3 for 25, first game back. He will be a security blanket. That target share was good. So Christian Kirk, if he's on your waiver wire, he may be in some leagues. Most competitive leagues, maybe not. But definitely consider him. He definitely should be getting some work, so you like that. Kirk, if he's on somebody else's roster, I still think with all the pressure that Stroud's going to see, he's going to need that slot receiver. So I do think, maybe make a cheap offer and see what happens, if you can get Christian Kirk. But I think for PPR leagues, Christian Kirk's going to have some real, real value here. So that said, not much else. Nick Chubb, 9 carries, 38 yards. It's just not going to be a high volume running game. The line's bad. Chubb scored last week. He had 3 catches, only 2 yards. So, again, love Nick Chubb, but for fantasy right now, he is a pray for a touchdown flex. He's, when the bye weeks come, utilize him there. Woody Marks, 6 carries, 1 catch, so nothing there. But realistically, right now, Nico Collins, if you could sell him off this game, that was a fluke touchdown. I love Nico Collins. You all know that. But if you could sell Nico Collins, sell him off the big game, because that touchdown, they were insane by not putting a safety over the top against him. The Jaguars were, and most teams are smart enough to do that. And 3 games, it's just not going on. Stroud is in too much trouble. This line, I'm not going to say it's like New York Giants of 2-3 years ago bad, but it's really a problem, and it's not going to get better. Other side of the ball, man, Trevor Lawrence. Oh my gosh. 6 targets to Brian Thomas. Fortunately, they were, that late in the game, they had to make that drive, and they connected on a crosser for 46 yards. That got him to 2 for 55, because otherwise it was looking like a 1 for 9 game. But I don't think I don't think Brian Thomas has a double-digit PPR point. I think he had 2 9s. I could be a little off, and maybe did scratch double digits once, but I don't. But if not, it hasn't been much over that. That's 3 games. That's worse than last year, because Lawrence and Thomas averaged 13 PPR points with Thomas in those 11 games. It's worse this year, and the targets are higher, because last year Lawrence was not uber targeting Thomas, but this year this was Thomas. 6 wasn't good, but it was like heavy targets in the other games. So it's a problem right now, because Trevor Lawrence, and I've been saying this, if you've listened to me, you heard me over and over, and I hate doing this. I hate spewing venom out there. I hate that. But Trevor Lawrence, when a play breaks down, he just loses it. He either takes a sack, throws the ball in the wrong direction. He just does not have calm under pressure. And I'm sure there'll be a couple games for Brian Thomas, but Trevor Lawrence goes 20 out of 40. And I get it. The Texans are a good defense. I understand. Believe me, I know they're a great defense. And we got to look back and see. Stingley was out, but I don't know if he came back in. Again, 9 games going on. I could not keep an eye on that. But even so, I just don't think 20 out of 40 with Liam Cohen skiing up our offense. Now, De'Ami Brown left this game with a shoulder injury. So 2 catches for 7 yards on 3 targets. So that was a little bit problematic, but the injury can't really do much about that, right? But he had been playing really well for them. Travis Hunter, 2 targets, took a screen, broke a couple tackles, 1 for 21. I think he has a 6 for 33, a 4 for something. I don't know how you could start Travis Hunter. Do not know how you could start him unless you're just a PPR low-level flex and you're just hoping for something. But right now, it just looks like Trevor Lawrence's problem. The offense isn't going great. And now the running game, Tootin got 6 carries, but he got that beautiful touchdown. They gave him a goal line carry. I think that was great. He's not a small back. He's like 209, I think. So he's not a small back. So that worked out. And Tootin had 1 target. Etienne and Tootin, neither caught a pass. So Etienne goes 16 for 66 and 56 and a touchdown. Tootin goes 6 for 21 and a touchdown. Etienne continues to get that workload. I do expect the screen game to ramp up, though, because Cohen has to be seeing Trevor Lawrence is problematic throwing it down the field at all. They're going to have to ramp up that screen game to give them more success on offense. So I would expect Etienne and Tootin to begin to catch more passes than they have. But this was a snooze fest, and it's very hard to invest other than Etienne, who's a low cost. Very difficult to invest in either of these teams right now. Like I said, if I roster Nico Collins, I don't this year, this would be the time I would try to trade him. Somebody's seeing the big game thinking it's back, and I think that might be the way to approach that, but it is not pretty. All right, we are going to go over more instant reactions after we take a short commercial break. All right, instant reaction number 4, the Vikings embarrass the Bengals. I'm picking out these reactions, and I'm never going to, there's always like 8 or 9 good ones, but I thought this was worth talking about. So we knew Jake Browning was in, and we knew, like, from a few years ago, I remember he had a decent record, maybe 4-3. But I said, look, they had a good defense that year, so he didn't have to do as much. But I said the one thing we learned from Jake Browning was that they would get the ball out of his hand fast, and so it'd be a lot of quick stuff. Well, regardless of how this shook out, it was a disaster for them. Could not have been a worse game. Isaiah Rodgers, man, I believe he scored 2 touchdowns that game, if I remember correctly. But if I'm off on that, I know he scored 1 for sure. But it could not have gone worse. Minnesota 14-0 in the half, 34-3 at the third, and then they put 14 more in the third. This was a whooping, and the biggest loser, and we knew it last week. We knew it. Is Chase Brown. Chase Brown may be unusable in fantasy. The premise on Chase Brown, he's a talented player. We knew that the Bengals do not have an offensive line that's worthwhile. We knew that. We understood that. But we knew that with Joe Burrow under center and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, we knew there would be free yards before contact. It'd be in the screen game. It would be in the run game. We knew there'd be a lot of dump offs him, and we knew that he would pile up fantasy points. Well, Jake Browning's in now. And defenses know he's got to throw it quick. So everybody walks down. That's a problem. Chase Brown, 10 carries, 3 yards. Little bonus. He chipped in 4 for 17 through the air. So he got you 6 PPR points. But yeah, right now, Chase Brown, that looks like a disastrous pick. And I got him in an important league too. And that's a tough one. Jamar Chase, he ends up salvaging 5 for 50. You'll take it. And he ran 1 for 9 yards. So he got you about 10.9 PPR points. T. Higgins, 2 targets, 1 for 15. Now they play the Vikings. All right. And I'm going to say that. Brian Flores, was really excited about this matchup. The offensive line's horrible. You knew he would send all kinds of looks and make Browning really uncomfortable really fast. So the good news is Browning isn't going to be facing the Vikings every week, and it's not going to be on the road every week. But you're going to be really careful when you start him. Obviously, Chase, you definitely have to, be careful with expectations. We're not going to get those 150s, so that's going to be a problem. A little concerned there. T. Higgins, now that's a problem too. So I think you treat Higgins like you're hoping for a wide receiver 3. Chase, you're hoping for a top 10 wide receiver. Obviously you can get an upside anytime he could break something, he's Superman. So there's that, but it's a problem, but it's a real problem. And then the Minnesota side, look, they were smart. Carson Wentz throws 20 passes. Didn't need to do much more. Everybody loved the touch on a Josh Oliver, right? Nobody started him. Hawkinson did score one later, so that helped him. Jefferson led with 7 targets, but again, on 20 passes, how many targets are there going to be, right? 5 for 75. Again, it's a little better than Jamar Chase did, but when they were blowing them out, there were no targets. This game was close. I think Jefferson only got 12 targets, but the game wasn't close. They didn't need to throw. Jordan Mason did what Jordan Mason would do. 16 for 116, 2 touchdowns. I said on the XM show this morning, I happen to be on that. I'm using that on Sundays, but I said Mason could score 2 touchdowns here. And I didn't predict it, but it was in the range. And yeah, because Cincinnati's defense is bad and Mason's a good runner. And they didn't even need him because they end up getting 8 carries to Xavier Scott, and 5 to Cam Akers. So they were winning so big. So, but Jordan Mason, full confidence starting him. He's not going to catch passes for you, but as a runner, chance to score every week, chance to get you, 75 plus yards. Definitely excited about that. I saw somebody made a comment earlier about dropping Connor. Unless you've heard a report already, I'd wait to hear the report, I think. So see what happens with that. But I don't know what the injury is. I don't know. They said ankle, but if it's obviously this could be Grizzly. So we don't know. And they didn't show it on the TV right away. So I think there was an issue with that. But yeah, my guess is it's bad, but we'll know by waivers most likely. Some of you may have instant waivers, and that's a little different. But if you don't, and that's it. Scott asked about CJ Stroud. I probably answered. It's the offensive line. It's like he has literally no time, and defenses know it. Defenses know. They just got to press the receivers to take a little more time, and they just got to get after the line. And all of a sudden, Stroud has to just bail out for his life. It's terrible. It's terrible. All right, let's see. All right, let's see what else we got here. So that's it for that one. And let's go to cash in on your NFL picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players get $20 free with no deposit required. Yeah, you heard that right. $20 free just on sign up. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're looking for the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today's your chance to win up to $40,000 in a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30 plus states. You download the Chalkboard today and use the promo code ROTONFL, ROTONFL. Get $20 free, no deposit required. Instant reaction number 5. The Bears come alive on offense. Yeah, they played the Cowboys, but you know what? We talked about this. And look, those who follow me, I said before the season, I said the Bears are going to have 2 rough weeks to start the season. A, they're installing a new offense. B, they were playing the Vikings and the Lions. It was not going to be a good start season. But you got Caleb Williams. He got you 21 and 25 fantasy points in those 2 games. So can you really even complain about that? For NFL, he might not look good, but we're playing fantasy football here. So, good deal with that. So, but that said, here's what I said on the show this morning. And actually, during my week, if you watch my Wednesday show, I said the same thing. I said, Ben Johnson will come in with a game plan to make sure that Caleb Williams has a big game. He will get him confidence. He will get him out of this game thinking, wow, we could do some things here. Now, CeeDee Lamb goes out with Scott Cope thinks it's a high ankle sprain. I probably agree with that. It's an ankle sprain. So he missed the game. This game should have been a shootout. I had the over on this and missed two interceptions in the end zone by the Cowboys. But again, no CeeDee Lamb. That kind of threw that off the rails. But that's my problem. But Caleb Williams. So yes, immediately the Bears were pulling stuff out. Luther Burden on a long play. They got Colson Loveland on a 31-yard play. And I think that was something I didn't see. They got, even though they weren't a lot of targets for Burden and Loveland had a hip injury in that game. I don't know if he came back or not. Again, a lot going on. But I do see that they got them involved. And maybe this is the beginning where they start to do a little bit more with that. So we'll have to see about that. But they got them involved as well. Odunze did get the one touchdown. So he kind of got you in for fantasy, saved you. And DJ Moore got a late touchdown and 3 rushing attempts. So that said, none of the Bears hurt you here. That's for sure. Now, DeAndre Swift caught 3 for 45 because he was only 13 to 33 on the ground. Again, pretty much a compiler, but the passing game usage at least got you to double-digit PPR points. So I said, Swift's a floor play, and volume's king in fantasy football, and he's going to get you that. But Caleb Williams, a few designed runs, 12 yards on the ground, but 298 and 4 touchdowns. He would have gone over 300 easy if this game was closer. They late in the game, they were able to sit on the ball a little bit, but he could easily sailed over 300 yards here. So really, Dallas doesn't have much of a pass rush. Dallas is down corners. They are not good, but this is exactly what you need to do. You need to get the young man a game with some confidence here. So, in terms of DJ Moore, I promote him. He's got 3 games right around 10 PPR points. It's not been great. I think he had 12 or 13 in this one. It hasn't been great. I don't know how this is going to go forward. I do think, though, the Bears offense does get better all the time, and I think they're going to start to figure some things out. Remember, Ben Johnson's going to figure out what his quarterback does best and what he doesn't. Love what Romo Odunze's done. Now, he had that huge game last week, but remember, the opener was at 37 yards, at 62 in this one, so he's been fine. But, again, he's had to score a touchdown every week, so that's been huge. But, again, Odunze's going to break out, so this is a beautiful thing for him. Other side of the ball, Dallas, what do I say? When CeeDee Lamb went out, otherwise, everybody scales down. Defense could play you a lot differently. Jake Ferguson, 13 for 82, got you 21 PPR points. Pickens scores a touchdown, 68 yards. It hasn't been the season start we wanted, but basically he's been in that 17 PPR point range in games 2 and 3, and I don't know you can complain about that where you draft him. If you're gonna tell up front, you're gonna get 17 PPR points, after week 1. And week 1 is a weird game. It was that Philly game with the weather delay and nobody moved the ball after that. So I don't think anybody be surprised with that. Prescott was fine here. Losing CeeDee Lamb, though, that's a problem. So, like I said, he threw for 251, a touchdown, did throw a couple picks. But again, you can't foresee Lamb getting hurt. If it's a significant injury, now we start moving Prescott into the streamer range as opposed to being the starter range. But that's going to be important. Joe Milton finishes one up. Javonte Williams keeps getting it done for you. 10 for 76, and he also caught 5 passes. So continuing to do really well here. Outside of that, let's see if there's any other comments I missed here. Drake London. Also, yeah, somebody mentioned earlier, you know what? He got 10 PPR points. You're not excited, but Penix again having all these issues, and they play Carolina and they got smoked. I really think this team has playoff aspirations, and they're 1-2 to start the season. And I know they had a great game running the ball last week against Minnesota, but Penix was 50%, 18 to 36 against Carolina, 2 picks. So that said, during training camp, apparently Kirk Cousins looked good. And they said, one of the beat writers that I got on the XM show had said that basically the in-house, they were saying Cousins was having a better camp than Penix. So I would not be surprised if you don't see Kirk Cousins. They might give Penix another game. And if he does another one of these, I think Cousins can be in. Now Cousins can run. He couldn't run play action last year because of the Achilles. Apparently that's fine now. It was a longer recovery. He's an older quarterback. But, London got you 5 for 55, 8 targets. It's not a good game, but it's not a game that's going to ruin your season because you look across the board, a lot of players hurt today. So, so I do keep an eye on that. And look, if you're in a league that's starved for quarterbacks, definitely consider making that ad for Cousins. All right, everybody, enjoy the games. I want to also tell you, thanks to our sponsor, Chalkboard, where you simply choose more or less on your favorite player. Stats up to 5,000 times your money. And thanks to everyone for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the Roto Wire Fantasy Football Podcast.